Well, hello there. How's everybody doing? This is Kevin from the Extra Mile Podcast and the Extra Mile Podcast Jeff Galloway edition. Good morning. I'm on my way to work this morning. It was kind of a day off for me as far as running goes. I did get up early this morning and walk a little bit. I walked for about an hour and 15 minutes on the treadmill just to get some steps in for that silly Fitbit thing I've got going on. I'm in a challenge now, and somebody's challenged me, so there's about 5 of us in this challenge, and I would invite you to friend me on Facebook if you're not already. But whenever somebody challenges me, that kind of gets the competitive juices flowing, if you know what I mean. So instead of taking the entire day off, getting steps at all, I got up and walked a little bit. I'll probably try to walk a little bit at lunch today as well, just because I'd rather get up and walk at lunch than either sit at my desk and work, or even worse, go out and eat something completely unhealthy. I know there's other options, but those are harder for me. So I just wanted to point out a couple of things. I'll be coming out with a new episode of the Jeff Galloway 13.1 Extra Mile Podcast. Hopefully, today is Wednesday the 2nd, December 2nd. Happy December. So hopefully by the end of this week, today's Wednesday, I'll have Thursday and Friday. So I'm going to shoot for Friday to post that. And for those of you who follow that and listen to that podcast, I usually, this is in all fairness, fair disclosure here, I usually talk to Jeff about a lot of different running related things. Sometimes I ask for questions, sometimes I have different items that I want to bring up. In all fairness, I wanted to let you know that this episode I don't have that. We spoke for quite a long time, for probably 45 to 50 minutes this episode. And since the Jeff Galloway 13.1 is only about a week and a half away, we centered this discussion almost solely on that race, aimed at basically 2 kinds of people. One, if you're entered and planning on running that race, there's some cool information in there that I think you'd like to know. It's always nice to know when you're going to a race, if you've never done it before, what to expect. So from that perspective, I think we did a decent job. Jeff does a very good job at talking about the expo, the race itself, and some of the things that surrounding the race, what you can expect, the water stations, what they hand out at the water stations, a bunch of stuff, what the course looks like. So for those of you entered in, are going to show up in Atlanta, we talk about that. We also talk about it's also aimed at those of you who, pardon me, who may be still thinking about it. Honestly, that's got to be people who are pretty close, either live in Atlanta or within, an hour or so driving distance, because I can't imagine at this late date anyone's going to jump into that race and then pay the exorbitant airfare to fly at the last minute. So those of you who are still on the bubble, you might like to hear a little bit about this race. So. And also for those of you who are going to run that race, we'll talk a little bit about the meetup on Saturday at the expo with Jeff, about 45 minutes to an hour with Jeff, and as well about a breakfast panel with some pretty special running people like Bill Rogers. Heard of him before? And if you're a listener to this podcast, how you can get in for absolutely free breakfast, free panel with Jeff Galloway, Amby Burfoot, Barb Galloway, as well as Bill Rogers, and a couple other people that you'll hear about. Also, after that breakfast are 3 motivational talks that Jeff will give. Those are all free if you listen to this podcast, so check that out. Here's the last thing I'll mention, that I'm a week and a half out from this thing, and I spoke about this on some other podcast I was doing, and I have not run, I do the Galloway, obviously, I have not run race distance. I've not run 13.1. My longest run has been about 11 and a half, I believe, and although I'm not concerned about that, and nor should I be, if you can run 11 and a half, you can throw in another less than 2 miles to get to the 13.1 distance. I fully believe that. And but I still would feel a little better psychologically if I could get a little bit more than that. So here's my plan. Either Thursday or Friday. I know it's only a week out, but hear me out here, and I want to know if any of you have thought about this. Jeff speaks about how if you are behind in your training, and let's say you miss a long run, you're supposed to do a 10 miler, and you've done an 8, but you haven't gotten that 10 in, or even worse, you're supposed to do a 15 miler, and you've only done a 10. He talks about going out and running that 10 miles like you just did, but then walking the portion where you've missed. So walking 5 miles. And although I've never specifically asked him this question, it would be a really good one. I'll try to remember to do that. I think the way he tells you to do it is to actually run your 10 miles and then walk a full 5 miles at the end of that, as opposed to interdispersing, mixing in that 5 mile walk into that 10 mile run. Make sense? So I don't know how he feels about this, but in my head, it just sounds like something that would work a little better for me. So what I plan on doing is, and I laid this out, I'm going to go out and run 2 miles at a run walk, and I've been doing a 1.5 minute run and a 30-second walk. So I'm going to run 2 miles. At the end of the 2 miles, I'm going to walk 1 mile. Then I'm going to run 2.5 miles with the run walk again, and I'm going to walk another 1. And I'm going to do that cycle until I get up to the 12 to 12.5, something like that. And I've already got it figured out. It's going to take me at the pace that I do this and the pace that I walk, somewhere around 3 hours and 50 minutes. I'm sorry, 2 hours and 50 minutes, something like that. It's going to get me, extend that long, the time on my feet. It's going to hopefully fix a little weird issue I've got going up in my head. This is, by the way, the training that I'm on right now, not including this run walk I'm talking about doing, is exactly what I did last year for this race. I had run like 11.5, and then ran the race, and I was fine. I ran. I wasn't. I was sore in that last couple of miles. Was actually inside Piedmont Park, and I could feel it in my legs. But it was at no point did I think, no, I'm stopping this. I can't do this. So I'm fine if I don't do this, but I'm going to try to fit this in. I'm going to try to go very, very slow and just care about getting the distance in and not caring about what time I do it. And I hope that will help a little bit with this whole, psyche thing I got going on. So anyway, I just wanted to check in. Hope your training's going well, and I hope you enjoy your extra mile. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.